DC Comics is home to some of the most powerful cosmic entities in the pages of comic books. But among all those cosmic beings, Darkseid remains the most powerful because he is one of the new gods, and a conceptual being that exists outside of the DC multiverse. While Darkseid is often called the god of tyranny and sits at the top as the strongest warrior in the DC multiverse, there were times he was brutally defeated by some of the heroes, and in today's video, we'll be going through a list of every character who was able to take down the Tyrant of Apocalypse. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like the video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started.
We know of your mad ambitions, Darkseid. This is your final warning. Break the treaty again and you will be destroyed.
Highfather. Highfather is the ruler of New Genesis and is the spiritual antithesis of Darkseid. If Darkseid stands for everything evil, Highfather stands for everything good. Since they're polar opposites of each other, they've gone toe-to-toe multiple times, in the comics and the animated shows. In the New 52, there was a new origin of Darkseid and Highfather. In this rendition, Isaiah, or Highfather, was the brother-in-law of Uxas, or Darkseid. Isaiah was married to Avia, who was Uxas' sister. Their world was constantly plagued by storms because of the actions of the old gods. Isaiah and Avia always prayed to the gods, fueling their powers. But still, the old gods didn't care about their people. But Uxas held a deep-rooted grudge against the old gods. So one day he traveled to the world of the old gods and filled their ears with hatred for each other. Thus, a battle broke out between the old gods. When the old gods started losing their power, Uxas killed all of them and became the new god we now know as Darkseid. Right about then, Isaiah found the god of the sky fallen to his death and prayed to him to save his and his wife's life. The god didn't have the powers to save anyone, so he transferred his powers to Isaiah, making him the Highfather. With this newfound power, Highfather took on evil Darkseid and asked him to stop his reckless destruction. And the intensity of their battle was so strong that their entire planet was destroyed. Apart from the comics, Highfather appears in the animated Justice League series, where he is the mortal enemy of Darkseid. While Highfather was the ruler of New Genesis, Darkseid was the ruler of Apocalypse. Their worlds were constantly at war against each other. During one incident, Brainiac attacked Apocalypse, and to help Darkseid, Superman sent Batman and Wonder Woman to New Genesis to ask for their help in the battle. But Orion saw this as an excellent opportunity to attack Apocalypse and destroy Darkseid once and for all. Although Highfather was convinced of his plan, he asked Orion not to do anything without his permission, and went to the Source to seek its advice. During this discourse, Darkseid took the opportunity to use Brainiac's asteroid to attack New Genesis. Thus, Highfather had to evacuate their city. But in the end, Darkseid met his demise when the asteroid self-destructed, killing him in the process. Batman. Darkseid is one of the new gods with overwhelming power that can only be matched by one of the gods or Superman. So it's almost impossible for the Caped Crusader to take down the evil dictator of Apocalypse in a one-on-one battle. But if you know anything about Batman, there's no such thing as impossible for him. During one of the events of the comics, Batman was actually able to kill the new god. This happened during the Final Crisis events. Darkseid had been able to take over the world of the anti-life equation. So Batman breaks his policy of not using firearms and shoots Darkseid with a Radion bullet. If you didn't know, Radion is like kryptonite to Darkseid. After being shot by the Radion bullet, Darkseid kills Batman with his Omega beams, but he dies in the end because of Radion poisoning. Later, it turns out that the one whom Darkseid killed was actually a clone of the real Bruce Wayne. This means that Batman killed the new god but survived without any harm. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a demigod who has repeatedly showcased that she's as strong as Superman, so it's believable that Wonder Woman would be able to take down the evil dictator of Apocalypse. During the events of Wonder Woman issue number 45, Darkseid attacked Diana's family. He kills Zeus, the father of Wonder Woman, and absorbs his energy. He also invades Themyscira and starts turning the Amazons into his parademons. This prompts Wonder Woman to fight the new god. Although Darkseid overwhelmed her with his raw power, Diana defeated him with her power of love. No, not her love for Darkseid, but her love for her family, her father, and everyone that Darkseid has killed and absorbed. Diana reaches out to the spiritual and blood connection that she has with her family, and her family's essence bursts out of Darkseid, taking him down in the process. Although we're pretty sure Diana would have been able to hold her own in terms of raw power, the writers chose to use the power of love to take down Darkseid, which was kind of cringeworthy on paper, but makes sense because of the current storyline. Superman. If there's one person on Earth whom Darkseid considers his rival, it would be Superman. The Man of Steel has repeatedly stopped Darkseid from taking over the Earth. When it comes to raw power, both Superman and Darkseid are evenly matched. So the only factor that determines who wins in a fight between the two are the writers. A Darkseid with an anti-life equation can take down Superman. In contrast, Superman can take down Darkseid only with sheer will and motivation. Although the two have blown punches multiple times, here are a few instances where Superman knocked out the dictator of Apocalypse. In the Superman animated series, Darkseid tarnished Superman's reputation on Earth using his evil schemes. This enraged the Man of Steel, and he came to fight Darkseid. The two blew punches after punches, and Darkseid seemed to come out on top. When Darkseid was about to use his Omega Beam, Superman covered Darkseid's eyes with his bare hands, causing the beam to backfire on Darkseid. This does not kill Darkseid, but manages to injure the ruler of Apocalypse. Apart from the animated shows, Superman and Darkseid have fought on multiple occasions in the comics. Although most of the times that Superman defeated Darkseid, he had support from the Justice League. There were few times that the Superman could take down Darkseid on his own. During the Apocalypse Now storyline, Superman engages in a one-on-one fight with Darkseid. Although Darkseid had the upper hand in the initial moments of the fight, Superman eventually took down the evil dictator with just his raw strength. The AntiMonitor. The AntiMonitor is a vengeful and bloodthirsty cosmic entity with an insatiable desire to exterminate all life and positive matter in the cosmos, allowing only his antimatter universe to survive. The AntiMonitor was being teased before the events that led to the Darkseid War. To defeat Darkseid, the AntiMonitor did the unthinkable. He killed an entire planet. To be precise, he killed 5,310,045 people on Earth 3 and absorbed their essence so he could get a power-up to defeat Darkseid. Using the power-up, AntiMonitor came to the Prime Earth and fought Darkseid. Their fight was so intense that they started destroying everything around them. Even though Darkseid seemed to hold his own during the fight, AntiMonitor gave a fierce beatdown to the evil conqueror. When Darkseid summoned the Black Racer to Earth, AntiMonitor merged the entity with Flash and killed Darkseid, marking an end to the Darkseid War. Doomsday. Throughout the DC comic history, Superman has fought a lot of enemies, but among them, Doomsday and Darkseid are two of the few who brought the Man of Steel to his knees. So fans often wonder who's stronger, Doomsday or Darkseid, and thankfully we have an answer for you. During the crossover event of Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey issue number 1, Doomsday reached Apocalypse and started destroying their world. This prompted their ruler to come forward to save it. When those two powerhouses collided, Doomsday came out on top because of the sole reason that he's a mindless killing machine. Darkseid's threats did not affect the Superman killer, and later Superman had to come to Apocalypse and work with Darkseid to defeat Doomsday. Doomsday was designed to be a perfect being, and he was so powerful that neither the Man of Steel nor the ruler of Apocalypse possessed the power to defeat him alone. Later, this fight between the two titans was retconned because it went against everything DC Comics had to go through to establish Darkseid as the ultimate antagonist, but it was sure fun to watch Doomsday give the Lord of Apocalypse a good beatdown. Grail. Grail is the daughter of Darkseid and Marina in the Darkseid comics. She was born the same way as Wonder Woman, and she was also a fellow Amazonian. While Hippolyta was giving birth to Wonder Woman and her twin Jason on one side of Themyscira, Marina gave birth to Grail on the other side of the island. Grail grew up with an intense grudge against her father, and made killing the ruler of Apocalypse her life's purpose. She appeared during the Darkseid War storyline, and played a significant role in the death of the evil Lord of Apocalypse. She was the one who brought the AntiMonitor to Earth and made him fight her father, which led to Darkseid's death. Although Darkseid is often considered as the most cunning and ruthless villain, his daughter outsmarted him in his own game. She orchestrated all the events that led to the downfall of the monstrous Darkseid. Orion. Orion is one of the new gods, and the son of the Darkseid in the DC comics. But unlike his father, Orion is a hero and fights on the right side. When Apocalypse and New Genesis signed a peace treaty, Darkseid and Highfather decided to swap their sons. Orion was given to Highfather, and he raised him with compassion for every living thing, while Darkseid raised Highfather's son Scott in Apocalypse. Due to his upbringing, Orion became a recurring enemy of his own father. He has fought his father multiple times and prevented him from acquiring the anti-life equation. In the events that led to Final Crisis, Orion fought Darkseid in an epic battle. In the concluding moments of the fight, he ripped out his father's heart, claiming that he's nothing like the evil dictator. Despite being raised by the Highfather, Orion possessed some of his father's nature, like a fiery rage and an insatiable hunger for battle, but he uses these characteristics for good and doesn't hold back while fighting the evil. During the final crisis, Darkseid creates the Radion bullet to kill his son, because he has been standing in his path, and call it a coincidence that the bullet he created to kill his son became the sole reason for his death at the hands of Batman. So one can say that Orion, and his Astro Force, is a superior warrior to his father. The Flash, Black Racer. During the Darkseid War storyline, when AntiMonitor comes to Earth and makes it his playground to fight the dictator of Apocalypse, the members of the Justice League become gods to bring their fight to an end. Batman became the god of knowledge, Superman became the god of strength, and Flash became the god of death. When Darkseid starts being overwhelmed by the might of the AntiMonitor, he summons the embodiment of death, the Black Racer, to Earth. Since the Black Racer required a host, AntiMonitor merged the Black Racer with the Flash, making him the god of death. Summoning the Black Racer became the biggest mistake of Darkseid because the AntiMonitor used Black Racer and made him pass through Darkseid's body, effectively killing him in the worst way possible. The Black Racer corrupted Barry's soul, but before it could do irreversible damage, Barry managed to outrun the Black Racer and become himself again. Although the Flash's role as the god of death didn't last long, he was a terrifying being in that form because taking down Darkseid in one blow is not a small achievement. Emperor Joker. Even though Joker has been Batman's primary antagonist for ages, he's more of a grounded villain, and it's unthinkable that he would win against the evil ruler of Apocalypse. But DC Comics is the place where you can witness some of the most bizarre things come to reality. One such sight was Darkseid surrendering in front of the mighty Emperor Joker. During the Emperor Joker storyline, Mr. Mxyzptlk, one of the most powerful beings and a trickster in the DC multiverse, gives 1% of his power to the Joker. However, Joker tricks Mr. Mxyzptlk into giving him all of his powers. If you think the Joker is one of the strongest villains in the DC universe without powers, imagine him with the immense powers of one of the strongest beings in the DC multiverse. As Emperor Joker, the Clown Prince of Crime became unstoppable. He created some of the craziest things that one can witness in the DC comics. Eventually, Joker also finds the anti-life equation, and this enrages Darkseid. So Darkseid reaches out to the Quintessence, a group of the strongest beings in the universe, like Zeus, Highfather, and Ganthet. He asks the Quintessence not to interfere as he takes down the Joker, but right about then, Joker comes to the site and turns the Quintessence into a parody version of themselves. He even threatens to turn Darkseid into a hood ornament. Although Darkseid was willing to fight the Emperor Joker, he soon realized he was no match for the might of this version of Joker, so he surrenders and sits on the sidelines as Emperor Joker goes on his crazy rampage. Cyborg. It might be confusing to many people how a character like Cyborg made it to a list of characters who defeated the new god Darkseid. Well, we're not mistaken, nor were the creators of DC Comics when they made Cyborg one of the founding members of the Justice League. He deserved this place because he was one who not only defeated the evil ruler of Apocalypse, but also his whole army of parademons all alone. During one of the invasions by Darkseid, Cyborg realized that it was impossible for the Justice League to take down Darkseid and his army on Earth itself, so he used his powers to reverse engineer the alien boom tube technology and sent back the new god and his army to where they came from. We think this achievement is enough for Cyborg to have a permanent spot in the Justice League and this list.
They dare steal from Galactus. For that, I will destroy their planet.
Galactus. It's often rare to see a crossover between Marvel and DC, and that too a villainous crossover between the two most powerful beings from both comics. But during one event titled Hunger, Galactus came to devour Apocalypse, the home planet of Darkseid. During the events of this comic, Silver Surfer relentlessly searches for a planet for Galactus to devour because Galactus is hungry. Eventually, Silver Surfer came across Apocalypse, but found that the people of this planet were not happy and emitted a negative energy. Before he could reach Galactus and tell him about the planet, the parademons started attacking the Herald. Hence, he sends a signal to Galactus to come and devour this planet. Galactus comes to devour Apocalypse, and Darkseid comes to save his home planet. Even Orion, who's watching all this unfold from New Genesis, comes to aid Darkseid in his war against Galactus. Even though Darkseid, his army, and Orion fight the cosmic entity and its Herald, they all fail to win against the overwhelming power of the planet devourer. Darkseid even tries attacking Galactus with his Omega Beam, but it does not affect the Titan. Ultimately, Galactus leaves their planet on his own accord, as he finds no life energy on the planet of Apocalypse. Even though Apocalypse was saved, Darkseid lost against the might of one of the powerful beings from the Marvel Universe. Aquaman. Even though Aquaman is the king of Atlantis and one of the strongest warriors on Earth, he doesn't really get the kind of attention he deserves. He proved his mettle by impaling Darkseid with his trident, rendering him weak during Darkseid's attempt to conquer the Earth during the New 52, Justice League issue number 6. The entirety of Justice League comes to stop the evil conqueror, while Cyborg plays an essential role in this event by reverse engineering the boom tubes and sending Darkseid and his army back to Apokolips. Aquaman saves everyone by impaling his trident inside Darkseid's eyes. This was a significant setback for Darkseid because his eyes are the source of his most powerful attack, the Omega Beam. Green Arrow and the Atom. We have all imagined what would happen if characters like Ant-Man or the Atom entered someone's body and expanded within. Well, we'll get to witness something that would be appropriate for The Boys TV series. In one instance, something like this happened in the DC Comics with the Green Arrow and the Atom. During the Rock of Ages storyline, which is an alternate reality, Darkseid successfully takes over the Earth and sets his base of operations in Metropolis. The remaining heroes, including Green Arrow, the Atom, Orion, and others, fought the ruler of Apokolips in one last stand to save Earth. Before Apokolips destroys Earth, the unlikely pair of Green Arrow and the Atom try a last-minute stunt where Green Arrow shoots an arrow at Darkseid with a miniature atom mounted on it. When the arrow hits Darkseid, the atom becomes as small as light particles and enters Darkseid's brain through his eyes. After reaching Darkseid's brain, Atom starts destroying his lobes. To our surprise, the unlikely alliance saves everyone in the post-apocalyptic world. Even though this was an alternate reality storyline, we often wonder why Green Arrow and the Atom never try this on the other world-threatening entities. Justice League. Together, the Justice League have taken down multiple powerful enemies, but their most significant achievement would be taking down Darkseid. The Justice League has taken down Darkseid numerous times, most notably during the Final Crisis and his invasion of Earth. Let us look into a few more instances where the Justice League took down the ruler of Apokolips. The first incident is from the 1980s comics. During this event, Earth 1's Justice League and Earth 2's Justice Society came together to fight a newly resurrected Darkseid. Despite the overwhelming number of heroes, they struggled to win against the evil forces of Darkseid. In the end, Firestorm and Power Girl defeated the evil tyrant with Metron's help. Metron reverse-engineered a machine that reflected Darkseid's Omega Beam upon him, leaving him defeated. The second and most well-known incident of Darkseid's defeat was from the pages of the DC Extended Universe. Darkseid's forces were defeated by the newly formed Justice League, comprising of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. At the end of the DCEU Justice League movie, Wonder Woman cuts Steppenwolf's head and sends it back to Darkseid, marking it as a warning not to invade Earth again. X-Men and Teen Titans. During the 1980s, the Teen Titans and the Uncanny X-Men comics were at their peak. Hence, Marvel and DC decided on a one-shot crossover between the two. And the primary antagonist of this crossover was none other than Darkseid. The story of this one-shot comic starts in a world where the heroes of DC and Marvel coexist. During the events of this story, Jean Grey was already dead after being consumed by the Phoenix Force. The X-Men, especially Cyclops, were still not over the death of their comrade. One night, Darkseid makes his way to the Xavier School and makes everyone hallucinate about Jean Grey. But the X-Men were not the only ones to have a nightmare about Jean Grey. Raven from the Teen Titans also has a nightmare about the Phoenix Force destroying the world. Later, the Titans find that Jean Grey is part of the X-Men and thus decide to invade the Xavier Mansion. Around the same time, Professor X had located the next site that Darkseid was about to attack, so all the X-Men were dispatched, with Professor X as the only remaining mutant in the Xavier Mansion. The Teen Titans ambush the mansion and defeat Professor Xavier, but their triumph is short-lived as Darkseid's minions arrive and take the Teen Titans and Professor Xavier to Darkseid's lair. Back at the location of Darkseid's attack, the X-Men come face to face with Deathstroke, who was hired by Darkseid to serve him in his mission. Somehow, Deathstroke takes down the X-Men and brings them to Darkseid's lair. Using the energies from the Teen Titans and X-Men, Darkseid reforms Jean Grey, to be precise, the Dark Phoenix. After Darkseid leaves both teams to die, the X-Men and Teen Titans team up. By using the Mobius chair and the Beast Boy's powers, both teams manage to come back to Earth. After coming to Earth, they find that Darkseid plans on using the Dark Phoenix to destroy the core of Earth, eventually destroying the Earth. Thus, they try everything to stop Darkseid and the Phoenix Force. During this fight, there was an epic battle between Deathstroke and Wolverine, but in the end, it was Cyclops who defeated the Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix manages to escape with Darkseid and merges herself with the Source Wall, effectively ending Darkseid's life. Even though this wasn't the most popular or well-known crossover between Marvel and DC Comics, it was fascinating to see the Teen Titans and X-Men work together and defeat the evil tyrant of Apokolips. Marvelous verdict. Even though the list of characters that defeated Darkseid goes on and on, one should not forget that this is not the real Darkseid. Darkseid is actually a conceptual being that exists outside the DC multiverse, in a realm called the Fourth World. The Darkseid that we witness on the pages of comic books are actually his avatars who possess only a fraction of his real power. This means if Darkseid decides to come to the Prime Universe with all his powers, then neither the Justice League nor any gods would be able to defeat him. With that being said, if you like our content, like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!